Hello, I'm James Viola, the President and CEO of Vertical Aviation International. Welcome to this month's Viola's Flight Report, where we review what Vertical Aviation International is doing for you. VAI is the leading global voice for vertical aviation. We proudly represent all sectors of our industry, manned and unmanned, including operations of helicopters, of electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, and of unmanned aircraft systems, as well as the people and companies that build, fly, fix, and supply those operators. One sector that is getting a great deal of attention lately is unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS. These aircraft include more than just the small drones sold to consumers. In fact, any aircraft that can be flown remotely is a drone, and some are large enough to carry significant payloads. Operators are already using UAS to complete important missions that in the past could only be accomplished by a pilot in the cockpit. Some UAS missions are the dull, dirty, or dangerous ones, and in those cases, UAS can provide safety benefits. But these aircraft are restricted from reaching their full potential because without a special waiver, they currently must fly within sight of their remote pilot or designated observer. Operations in which a UAS flies beyond the visual line of sight of the pilot or observer are called BVLOS, and creating rules for safe BVLOS operations is the subject of this month's VFR. VAI recognizes how BVLOS operations will unlock the tremendous potential of UAS to benefit society, and we welcome their integration into the airspace. But this integration must be done so as to preserve the airspace's current level of safety and not to degrade it. The ability to detect other aircraft, whether by human eyes or technology, is a foundational element of aviation safety. But if the remote pilot or observer cannot see where their drone is flying, then how could they avoid other aircraft? That is a complex issue around BVLOS operations that VAI and others in the industry must work together to resolve. To be clear, VAI supports the full integration of UAS into the airspace, including BVLOS operations. But we have concerns with the recommendations proposed by the FAA BVLOS Aviation Rulemaking Committee, or ARC. For starters, VAI recognizes that airspace at and below 500 feet AGL, above ground level, is an active dynamic ecosystem of aviation operations. Tens of thousands of sorties occur in this airspace annually, including operations critical to society. If implemented, several of the recommendations of the BVLOS ARC would create a dangerous environment for manned operations below 500 feet AGL. First, VAI does not support any modification to the existing right-of-way rules as part of the effort to enable BVLOS operations. The ability to see, detect, and sense other aircraft is a foundational element that enables right-of-way rules contained in the Federal Aviation Regulations to be effective. Right-of-way assignment is not and should never be a mitigation for UAS's inability to detect other aircraft. VAI does recommend the development of performance-based standards for BVLOS detect and avoid requirements that take into consideration all operations in the airspace. And just as UAS must be able to detect and avoid all other aircraft, we must also ensure that other aircraft can detect and avoid UAS. This is why VAI does recommend that all aircraft display maximum visibility. In other words, we believe that all aircraft should maximize their ability to be detected by other aircraft, whether that detection is accomplished by visual, electronic, or other means. To do otherwise just wouldn't be safe, plain and simple. VAI also opposes providing UAS with blanket right-of-way privileges in so-called shielded areas. As proposed in the BVLOS ARC recommendations, shielded areas are within 100 feet above or around critical infrastructure or obstacles. Giving UAS blanket right-of-way in these locations would endanger the thousands of manned aircraft flying in those same areas. However, VAI does support the creation of shielded operations where UAS are physically shielded or separated from other airspace users. This would enable UAS flying, for example, under bridges or within cooling towers to operate with reduced detect and avoid requirements. To be clear, VAI believes BVLOS operations can be performed effectively and safely, but these operations must be performed within a system of performance-based requirements harmonized across all airspace operators and that protect the safety of all. If you would like to become part of the BVLOS conversation, VAI hosts regular meetings of our UAS Industry Advisory Council, a group of VAI members who are pioneers in the use of this technology. Go to verticalavi.org to learn more. Well, that wraps up this month's edition of VFR. Please email me with your comments or suggestions on how VAI can provide you with better service. Until next time, fly safe, stay safe, and keep powering up.